Well, let's separate for a second. Because this book isn't written for the great entrepreneurs, right? This book is written for the everyday entrepreneur. And here's the difference between the great entrepreneurs that you're speaking of and the typical everyday entrepreneur. The typical everyday entrepreneur thinks he can do everything. This is one of the problems, right? So there is one key task that the beginning entrepreneur should focus their attention on. And it's in the book. I'm not going to tell what it is. If they want to know that, they should buy the book and read it. And then everything else should be delegated to someone else. But here's what typically happens with new entrepreneurs. You know, they want to save money. Understandable. I'm no longer an engineer. I'm also an accountant. I'm going to get QuickBooks. I'm going to install QuickBooks on my laptop. I'm going to start entering check information, right? I'm going to start focusing on financing information. I'm going to start focusing on how to hire. You know, so I'm all of the things that have nothing to do with my core competency, okay? You read a lot where, you know, it's not unusual for an entrepreneur to say, yeah, I think I can do that. Even though he can. He knows he can't do it, right? But he says, yeah, I can do that. But he's not saying, I know that I can do every task associated with this thing. He's going, I have the confidence that I can find the information and the people that I need, bring them together to get this thing done. That's the difference, right? And this is what you learn after you've been seasoned for a while. Usually in those early days of entrepreneurship, you try to do it all, you fall flat on your face. Oh, I don't want to partner with anyone because, you know, I don't want to split my profits. Well, 100% of nothing, right?
Yeah,
so that's really the difference, knowing how to delegate the unimportant, delegate tasks to the appropriate people and sticking with your core competency, whatever that is. And not only that, knowing how to get out of your business. This mentor that I mentioned earlier, I tell you, I'm just amazed when I sit in his office. This guy is not needed. If he died tomorrow, that company would go on for many years to come because he has worked himself out of his business. His business has outgrown him personally.
You know, let's talk about that. That's a great point. I'm glad you bring it up because that's something that I know I learned the very hard way. Is that the difference between unsuccessful small businesses and successful big businesses is they have systems in place. And a lot of young entrepreneurs or even still small businesses, it blows my mind how few of them actually have systems in place, procedure manuals. I mean, all these things that you talk about where basically someone over time can build a business so that it can function on its own. I mean, talk about that. Talk about, I mean, you're an engineer, so you obviously understand systems probably a lot better than I do. You know, talk about that, man. That's a great point.
Well, take for instance, this is so funny. I'm sitting in my mentor's office one day, right? And I actually talk about this in the book. This portion I didn't mention in the book. But he cuts me a check for some work that I was going to be doing. And his financing person comes in with the checkbook. She asks him, now remember, he's the owner. It's like more than 100 employees in this place. She asks him, she goes, what is this for? And he's like, well, you know, we're making like an investment. You know, Derrick's got something that he's working on. I think it's pretty cool. And I'm gonna, you know. She goes, okay. What exactly is he doing? Right? And then she basically gave him. She spent 5 minutes giving this guy the third degree. And I'm sitting there watching this. And I'm like, man, aren't you in charge? Right? And then he sat there and provided her with every bit of information that she required. Then she turns to me as she's walking out. She goes, Derrick, this better be good. I said, oh, I promise. It's going to be great. And he just looks at me and laughs when she leaves. And so he basically went out and found someone who is the best at what they do. She is the best at financing, she's the controller, whatever it is she does there, right? And then he fully delegated that authority to her. He empowered her to even question him. And there is no doubt in my mind, if she was uncomfortable with him, she probably could have convinced him to rethink his decision, right?
Empower the right people. That's what I tell all starting entrepreneurs. Empower the right people.
You can't just give them a job. And this is one of the mistakes that entrepreneurs make, beginning entrepreneurs make. They delegate something to someone. I went through this. They delegate something to someone, and then they hover over them.
Yeah.
Right? So now, I just need to make sure you're doing it, And then, here's the next mistake they make. And I made this. And this was actually a critical, strategical error that I made that was actually very costly. And I actually do talk about this in the book. So I had taken some of my own engineering tasks and delegated them out to someone. And then I said, yeah, but I can be billed at $150 an hour, and this many hours would be this much. Oh wow, that would really do a lot for the revenues. And then, whereas the decision consciously was made to be taken out of the business, I had some short-sighted greed and said, let me go back to doing this task. Went from praying over the person who was delegated the task to actually doing the task again. Big mistakes. Two problems. Number one, you don't get to grow into the leadership position. Number two, the person you delegated the task to, they do not get to grow in their position. You do not empower them. Third, and this is really the worst, you train them to rely on you and to rely on you to make decisions for them. So now, instead of you getting out of your business, you're becoming more entrenched. And I tell people, ask yourself, if you died tomorrow, would your business go on without you? If not, then you're doing something wrong, or you just haven't reached that stage yet.
All very cool, man. Listen, I want to try to keep these interviews down because I don't want to give them everything. I'm going to do a shameless plug for Entrepreneur Network, but it's something that you're helping me with as well, and that we're all working on. Is that we want to have these short type interviews where we talk about books that you write, and we talk about different strategies, and we just shoot the shit, right?
See, and that's my challenge, man, because
about being an entrepreneur.
I kind of, I want to give. That's why, I priced the book at $9.95. I want everyone to get it.
Well, that's what. And that's what I was gonna say.
I want this information to help people.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. Like I looked at the Kindle's like $3.99, man. I mean, the amount of information in that book and the power of that information and learning from those type of mistakes. It's easily worth 100,000 times times that. $3.99 for that. Everybody and their mother should be getting it. Even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be a better employee, I always say, sometimes people disagree with me, but I tell people that everybody is an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur of yourself, right? So,
I agree.
So if you get a job, you got to go sell yourself to get a job. If you got to go raise money for your new company, you got to go sell yourself. So you're always selling yourself. Either it's for your own business or it's for somebody else's business. So
yes,
for anybody who wants to better whatever they're doing at $3.99, that's a no-brainer. So,
and paperback, the paperback is $9.95.
Well, even that, $9.90. Yeah, listen, I really want to thank you for doing the interview with me, man, and the whole entrepreneur community thanks you, man. It's because of guys like you that we're gonna better the odds of success. The one thing that pisses me off the most is when people say, well, you know what, you got a 5% chance of succeeding over the next 5 years. That's BS, and it's because of guys like you that we're gonna better those odds. So I really appreciate you.
And that's exactly the point. And I know you're trying to, you want to wrap things up, but this point is so important.